So today, I got something real good, y'all. Y'all gonna need pencil, paper, everything. Because today, I am going to literally change some of you all's life. Because what I'm going to share with you today is really going to change the way you think about stuff, and not only change the way you think about relationships, it's going to help you in jobs, it's going to help you in anything you want to do. In terms of influencing people, you're going to be able to influence people, y'all. So today, I got some stuff for y'all. It's really called the psychological powers of questions. The psychological powers of questions. Now, every question, do y'all wonder? Do you ever wonder, like, how is it that Oprah Winfrey has become so popular? And the truth of the matter is, y'all, all Oprah Winfrey does is ask questions. That's all she does. And she's been asking questions for so many years that we just take it for granted and we don't understand the power of questions. And we're going to get into that real heavy in 1 second. So let me tell you how I got to this point. What made me decide to want to do a whole lot on the power of questions in relationships. So let me tell you about one of my coaching clients. She's actually a friend of mine. She's one of my coaching clients. She met this guy. And when she met the guy, she told me all about the guy. She was excited about him. She was excited about their meeting. She was excited about how he made her feel. And she was excited about the sex they had. She was excited about all of that stuff. And one day she asked me, would I come around when he was around? So I came around and we had a cookout. And during the cookout, after the cookout, she asked me, what did you think about this guy? And I said, number one, it's not what I think, it's what you think. But my question is, have you asked him these questions? And I rattled off 10 questions, and she said, nope, I've never asked either one of them. So here's what I said. So she began to tell me some of the things that were going on. And I said to her, I don't think, y'all, as a coach and as a friend, see, there's a delicate balance. I'm coaching somebody and I'm friends with them. But it was a delicate balance. And I told her, I said, listen, I don't think that he is the type of person for you. I don't think so. Now, you can think that. You asked me, so I'm going to give you my opinion. So she said, I did not ask the questions. So I gave her a list of questions. I said, please ask these questions. If you ask the question, you'll get the answer. And if you don't get the answer, that's an answer as well. She didn't do it. Let's fast forward 6 months. 6 months, he ghosted her. All right. He's telling her things, made a whole bunch of promises that I knew weren't right. And then he told her, you can't call me after a certain time. Now listen, y'all, I know a lot of times we look at things and we don't really want to see the answer, but a lot of times the answers are right there. So the first thing I told her was, I said, you got to know, and I said, you got to be willing to ask these questions. Long story short, she never asked the question. She got heartbroken. And she ended up in a depressed state saying, why me? What's wrong with me? And then she wanted to call him and all of this. And I had to work through all of that, work her through to get her on the backside. That compelled me to do something. That compelled me to write this book. I said, what I need to do is write a book based on what questions a person needs to ask, so that it's almost like a screening process. Now, I'm not talking about interrogation. I'm simply talking about getting to the core. So today, I'm going to teach you a part of this masterclass. This is going to be a masterclass, y'all. It may run just a little bit longer than normal, but I want to make sure I get everything in. And so what I did was I got my notes. The first thing I want you to understand is this. When you talk about with my marker. When you talk about a relationship, anything in relationship boils down to 3 things. Number one, it boils down to communication. Com- communication, all right, leads to connection. Leads to connection, which leads to compatibility. Compatibility. I'm not great on spelling. It don't even matter. Long as you get this. So here's the thing with people. What happens is they want to get connection without communication. And you don't get connection without communication. And then you wonder why you're not compatible after you've been in it. You've been in it a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, and you figure out, well, what did I see at first that made me think this person was compatible? So I'm going to tell you what it is and how to avoid that. So I want you to understand this is the process that you go through, okay? But more importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to extract one part of this, the communication part. And what one part of communication is questions. You only get to some answers because you've asked the question. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you as this part of this masterclass, I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's get this. Many people, anybody can tell you what questions to ask. Many people can tell you what questions to ask, but very few people can tell you why to ask them. So after my friend went through all of this, I wrote this book. I teamed up with Milani Shani, another dynamic coach, and we wrote this book called Just Ask. 50 questions to know if he's the one. And so let me tell you what the book is about. The book is about not only what questions to ask, it tells you why to ask them, and it tells you when to ask them. Because a lot of times, y'all, people feel like, I don't want to ask the question because I don't want the person to feel like they're being interrogated. The reason why a person feels like they're being interrogated. Why? The only time you feel like you're being interrogated, number one, the sender has asked the questions in an inappropriate way. Number two, because the receiver does not want to share that information with you. So I'm going to show you how to get past that. Now, but the first thing we do, you understand this. So the first thing we got to understand is this right here. Why are we asking them? Why are we asking questions? What is the purpose of questions? Questions get you these three things. Number one, they get you valuable. You're able to get valuable information, valuable info. What else do questions do? What else do? They create intimacy and connection. Questions create intimacy and connection. If you don't know anything about a person, how can you connect with them? How intimate, and I said this earlier this week, intimacy is not about sex. Intimacy is about asking questions. Intimacy is about communication. So what happens? And the last thing is it helps you solve problems and conflicts. Solve problems and conflicts. Do you know a lot of conflicts and problems could have been solved. All we had to do was ask the question. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you not only how to ask the questions, but I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you the powers that questions have. Here are the powers that questions have. So what we're going to do is let's get right into it. But before I do that, I got to tell you what your work is. Here's your work. Your work is you have to be willing to ask the tough questions. You have to be willing to ask the hard questions. Most of us are unwilling to ask the hard questions because the hard questions lead us down a road where there is emotion attached. The truth is, I want to ask questions that have emotion attached. Early on in relationships, we never ask questions that have emotion attached. And so what happens is when we don't ask the question, we never feel the emotion. The other person never feels the emotion attached with the question. So you got to be willing to ask the tough questions. The second thing you got to be willing to do is you got to be willing to learn what to ask. That's why this book, Just Ask, is going to tell you what to say and when to say it. So you got to ask, learn, be willing to ask, learn what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. I got all of it covered. As far in the book, I got it all covered. You just gotta be willing. That's your part. You just gotta be willing. All right, so let me jump right into it, y'all. This is gonna be powerful. This is gonna help some of y'all get the job you want. This is gonna help some of y'all get the mate you want. This is gonna help some of y'all get whatever it is you want, because I'm about to show you there are 7 powers of questions, but I'm only going to show you 5 today. I'm going to give you 5. So let's start with number 1. What is the first power of questions? The first power of questions is questions demand answers. Okay, questions demand answers. Listen to me carefully. This is the first power of questions. Here's what. Have you ever heard, probably not, I'm going to tell you. Have you ever heard of the answer reflex? The answer reflex. You ever heard of that? The answer reflex. Let me tell you what the answer reflex is. The answer reflex is simply this. Every one of us, we are programmed. Our subconscious mind is programmed to answer questions. Now, let me prove it to you. Think about it. When you were growing up and you were a little kid, how many times did somebody try to talk to you and you wouldn't answer them, and you like, I don't know, they're like, what's your name? What's your name, little guy? And you're looking like, no. And what does your mom say? Your mom or dad says, answer the man. Answer the man, little Johnny. Answer the man, little Kenny. What happens is now they're programming us to answer questions. We do it all across society. Another thing, when you go in the courtroom and the judge asks you a question and they say, answer the question, sir. Again, we are programmed to answer questions. Here's the problem. We've been programmed all our life to answer questions. The truth is, you ever ask somebody a question and it was awkward? They got awkward because they didn't answer. You ask them a question. How awkward is it if you ask somebody a question and then all of a sudden they look at you like this? I don't know what you're talking about. They don't say anything because silence is awkward. So watch this, y'all. It's ingrained in our subconscious thinking, our subconscious mind, that we're supposed to answer questions. Now, let's say a person doesn't even want to answer the question, right? They want to forego the answer right now. I'm going to even show you how to ask a question even if they don't want to answer you. So, for instance, if a person doesn't want to answer you, right? And you say this. You say, I understand that you don't want to answer the question. Can you tell me why it's important not to articulate your answer? Wait a minute. All of a sudden, what I'm doing, I am psychologically controlling the conversation. We're going to get into this in a minute. But just understand, the first power is questions demand answer because of what we call the answer reflex. We are programmed, our subconscious mind is programmed to answer questions. So now, y'all, you remember what I said earlier. You just got to be willing to ask the hard questions. You can get to the answer that you need, but if you're unwilling to ask, and then you find out later, you was like, you didn't tell me you had 3 baby mamas. You didn't tell me that you dated her 3 months ago. You didn't tell me y'all slept together a week ago. And he looking at you like, your ass didn't ask me. You ain't asked me. So what I'm going to show you is, and then you get mad because you're expecting the person to know what it is you desire to know. And so that's not the way we're going to handle this. So as long as you know what the powers are, what these powers are in questions, you're going to be armed and you're going to be empowered to always get to the answer so that you can make an intelligent decision. Number two, the second power of questions. The second power of questions is simply this. This gonna be dope. This is so dope. I don't even know what to do. This is so dope right here. Questions. Questions stimulate thinking. Okay. Watch this, y'all. I'm going to show you how to do some Jedi mind trick on people. They ain't gonna even know what the hell you're doing. Watch this. Whenever questions stimulate thinking, do you know you can trick your own brain? I did it. There is a thing called the RAS, reticular activating system. I ain't even spelling that out. We all have one. So let me tell you how it works. Whenever you ask your brain a question, your brain always finds the answer. It's called, this reticular activating system finds the answer that you seek. So let me give you an example. So we always ask ourselves questions that defeat the answer that we're trying to get to. Let me give you an example. I used to say things like this when I was 430 pounds. I used to say things like, why can't I lose weight? And then my brain, my reticular activating system, always comes up with the answer. The brain always comes up with the answer. When you ask the brain a question, it always does. And then what happens is the brain tells you the answer you want to hear. So it says, I can't lose weight because I don't have the time. I'm traveling all the time. I'm busy. I'm taking care of my family. I'm doing this. It gives you the answer that you seek. Now watch this. What if you begin to ask your brain a different question? And this is what changed my life. This changed my life. I got on The Biggest Loser, y'all. Yeah, some of you know I was on The Biggest Loser, some of you don't. I was on The Biggest Loser. I weighed 420 something pounds. I lost 170 something pounds. And the truth of the matter is, I got on there one day by asking 3 questions. I changed the way I was asking questions, and my brain changed the way that it operated with me. So instead of saying, why can't I lose weight? I changed the questions. I asked 3 questions. Number 1, I said, how can I lose 100 pounds? A specific question. Whenever you ask your brain a specific question, it will always find the answer. I said, number 1, how can I lose weight? 100 pounds. Number 2, how can I keep it off? And number 3, how can I inspire people in the process? As soon as I begin asking that question, my reticular activating system would define that answer. So if I get home, y'all, because now whatever you acutely want, and your brain begins to look for it. Let me give you a case, a real interesting thing. You ever wanted to buy a car and you don't see this car anywhere? And all of a sudden you go on the lot and you get the car. You get the car and then you bring the car off the car lot. And next thing you know, everybody around has that car. You're like, there's the car, there's the car, there's the car. Now your reticular activating system is focused on the thing that you desire. Whenever you ask a question that stimulates thinking, it focuses on the solution. So here's what I say. Here's what I tell people. My wife and I, 12 years ago, we were in the process of getting a divorce. Okay? And we were thinking about getting a divorce. We were just beefing. We were arguing. We couldn't get along. And one question changed our marriage, changed the course of our future. One day we were beefing. We were in the car, and we both of us, we just couldn't see eye to eye. I was hurting her feelings. She was hurting my feelings. It was a slugfest to see who could win. But we still loved each other. How many of y'all get into those situations and then you don't know how you got here? Next thing you know, you don't know how you got here. My wife asked me one question that changed the way I thought. Instead of saying, why you leave the seat up? Why you do this? Why you leave the dishes in there? Why you didn't take out the trash? Why I said the same thing to her? Why you didn't wash the clothes? Look at the questions I'm asking. She said this. She changed the question and said, how could I say that which I said and make you feel different? All of a sudden, my brain began to think about that answer. Y'all, what happens to most of us is you ask questions like, why can't I find a man? And your brain is going to tell you all of the reasons why you can't find a man, all of the reasons why you are having problems doing that. And so what you should say to your brain, your reticular activating system, is this: how can I find a man that's going to, number one, love me for me, number two, have the same values that I have, and number three, be that protector, the guy that I've always dreamed of? How can I find that guy? And your brain will begin bringing you solutions to the problem that you just asked it to do. But we just have to be willing to ask the questions to stimulate thinking. Y'all, all right, number three. Number three, questions give you valuable information. Questions give you valuable information. That's the third power. Information. Third power. Why this is important. And I'm going to tell you, I wrote this down. And this is so powerful because what we do, we make false assessments, assumptions every single day. We make them every single day based on our experiences, based on the things we've seen. And what happens to us is we make them based on how people look, based on what we've heard, and based on all the other outside factors, but we never base it on what we've asked them. See, what you do is we assume that the person believes something that they don't necessarily believe. How is it that we can make it, get this, y'all, how can you make an assessment about somebody you should date? You make an assessment about somebody you should date, and you have never asked them everything that means something to you. For instance, in this book that we wrote, we asked the question, tell me what your dreams and desires are that you would like to accomplish in 1 year. Now that's important. That's an important question. It is not an interrogation, but what you're doing is that gives you some inroads to the person's psyche, y'all. All we're doing is saying, do you like to go to you want to go to the concert? You want to go see Frankie Beverly and Maze? You want to do this? You're asking them bullshit questions. And what he does, the player does, he don't give you the bullshit answer. So now you think he's the guy for you because you've never, number one, you've never gotten the valuable information. Number two, you've never probed deep enough to get intimacy and to get connection so that, number three, you can find out if you were compatible with the person. So you don't ask enough questions to get the valuable information that you need. And so I always tell people, I said, look, you always ask two kinds of questions. Number one, because you're trying to get two kinds of answers. Watch this, y'all, and be cognizant of this. Number one, you ask questions to get facts. Number two, you ask questions to get feelings. So when I watch this, most people don't think about it like that. If I ask you a question like this, I said, tell me why it's important for you. Why it's important for you to be with someone who supports you. Now, what is that? Is that a factual question or a feeling question? It's a feeling question. And what we do is we'll ask factual and feeling questions together, and then they'll give us one answer, but what we do is we make an assumption about the other answer. Stop it, y'all. Matt, what I want you to do is separate the kinds of questions you ask. You ask a question, a fact question. A man, have you ever slept with another man? That's a fact question. That is not a feeling question. A fact question. Do you have any children? Fact-based. Feeling-based. Feeling-based is, tell me how you feel about disciplining children. That's an emotional-based question. And if you don't separate them, you will always assume. If you don't separate them, you will always assume something that's not true. So what I'm telling you to do is get the valuable information. Ask fact-based, ask feeling-based questions. And we got them all in here. And the truth is, today after the day, I'm going to show you how to get this. 50 questions to know. Number 4, and I'm going to get through this. That was number 3. Number 4, because I'm not going to give y'all 7. Just a part of the masterclass. Number 4. Questions. Oh, this powerful. This so powerful. Questions. Put you in control. All right. Check this. Check this. Check this. Check this. I'm about to hell. Y'all listen to this. Take these notes. I don't care what it is. This is powerful. He or she that asks the questions controls the conversation. I'll say it again. He or she that asks the questions controls the conversation. Whenever you ask the questions, you control the conversation. You ever notice how when Oprah's interviewing somebody, Oprah asks the questions because she controls the conversation. She's the one that leads us where to go. And what happens is she always knows where she's leading you. And she always knows the emotion she wants to attach where she's leading you. So now get this. Stop, y'all. What we always do, we're in the business of trying to sell ourselves to somebody. Sell ourselves to somebody instead of asking the questions to put. Now, I'm going to show you how to get in control. Let me show you how to get in control. I did this with somebody, y'all. I did this with somebody who wanted to get this high-priced job, paying job, one of my clients. And she was like, Ken, I want to get this job. I want to get this job. I said, so when you go into the interview, here's what I need you to do. Now, get this. What I need you to do. Hey, y'all, my wife came in here with just her drawers on. No, I'm just playing. Okay. All right. So I told the person, I said, this is what I want you to do. When you go into the interview, I want you to look at your attributes. And I want you to ask the interviewer two questions, two very important questions. And what I'm doing is I'm controlling where the interview's thought process goes. Watch this. I said, tell me two of your best attributes. Your best attributes. She says, number one, I'm a team player. And number two, I get things done on time. I said, bet. So when you go in there, and when the person is interviewing you, in between the person asking you a question, I want you to take control of the conversation. She's like, what? I said, take control of the conversation. I said, now I want you to ask you a question. You said, can I ask you a question? Ask her, say, why is it important for someone on your team to be timely in turning in work? And the interviewer said, wow, I'm glad you asked. That is important because, and then what she said was, wow, this is what I've done. See, all of the time when I was with X, Y, and Z company, I turned work in 99.3% of the time earlier than it was due. And the person says, wow. So when you ask the questions, only thing you're doing is you're asking the person a question to lead them where you want them to go. And here's what I always say is you ask the question to find out if the person is linked to your core values. If your core values is family, you ask the person, tell me, why is family important? And tell me the things that you feel is important for a family to do. Now, all of a sudden, you understand what the person is thinking about family. If that's one of your core attributes and they can't answer that, they ain't the one for you. We ain't got to keep going. Yo, this right here ain't rocket science. You just got to know how to do it. Questions control the conversation. Like I asked somebody the other day, I said, I want you to ask your partner. Ask them this. Tell me, I wrote it down. Why is it important for a person to be faithful in the relationship to you? Now, what am I doing? Number one, I'm asking the person a question that I want to know the answer to. Number two, I'm putting the person on the spot because what I'm doing is they're going to talk to me about a feeling question. Because now, whenever they say that, now all of a sudden, it means that the person has linked, you have linked this to your core value system. And I want you to listen for the answer that they give you. Y'all, if you ain't willing to ask these questions, you're never going to find the person that's right for you. Because if you forego the questions, the person can always say, you never asked me. And the last one, number five. Number five is simply this, is questions. Questions get people to open up. Okay, now, watch this. You might say, well, some people don't want to say it. I'm going to show you how to get to that. So, if questions get people to open up, what are people most comfortable talking about? Themselves. Because that's the thing they know most about. They know most about themselves. So, what we're trying to do all the time, we're always trying to sell ourselves instead of allowing people to talk about themselves. Because the longer a person talks, they will tell you everything you want them to know. Everything you want to know. Everything you want to know about a man, everything you want to know about a man, he will tell you. All you have to do is ask the right questions and shut the hell up. In sales, I teach salespeople. I've taught sales classes because I've sold a whole bunch of stuff in my life. And I teach them. All of this is about influence. I said, when you ask a person a question, shut up. Shut your mouth. Because silence is uncomfortable. So what you do is you ask the question and you shut up. What happens is once there's silence, the other person feels like, I don't want to answer, but I got to say something. How many times have y'all ever been in an awkward situation? You've been in an awkward situation and y'all discussing something that's intense and nobody says anything. And then y'all know it gets uncomfortable. And the next person that in sales, I tell them, the next person that speaks loses the conversation. They loses the edge. They lose their competitive edge. Because when you ask a question, shut up. Because they'll give you the information. Even if they don't want to talk, you just be quiet till the person says something. I'm telling y'all, it's powerful. It is so powerful. And so what I tell people is, hey, it's called the me factor. The me factor is simply this. People will talk about the things that mean the most to them, and that's them, me. The thing I know the most about is me. People will talk about me all day long if you ask them me questions. Me questions are the things that they like, their desires, the things they don't like. But you phrase it in a way as though I'm concerned, I'm interested in you, all right? And but just always remember the reason why people don't do it. If people don't do it, if a person doesn't want to open up to you, all you have to do is wait. Maybe not today, maybe later. Because I wrote down the reasons why people don't open up. A lot of times they don't open up because they've been hurt. Okay, people have been hurt and they've been hurt and they don't want to trust it. They don't want to trust it, they don't want to trust giving the information to you. But what you need to just be patient. There are a whole bunch of other questions you can ask. You can actually ask questions to build trust. Questions build trust, okay? Number two, the other reason why they don't like to, because they're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being judged. You can ask questions to allay their fears. You can ask questions to allay their fears. I'm not trying to judge you because what you want to do is ask questions to let them know that you're not trying to judge them. Now, the third thing is they don't feel appreciated. If you've been in a relationship a long time and a person doesn't feel appreciated, they're not going to answer your question. They're just not. And so what I want you to do is begin asking questions that show appreciation. The fourth thing is they don't trust you. It's not they don't trust anybody else. They don't trust you because you haven't earned their trust. You got to be willing to ask enough questions to earn their trust. And how do you earn a person's trust? By answering questions that are intimate to you. Y'all, give that which you want first. And the law of reciprocity says the other person will give it back to you. And the last thing is this. They don't want to do it. They don't want to answer the question because they want to keep it hidden. And if they want to keep it hidden, what I want you to do, if a person doesn't continuously answer your questions and they avoid the question, for instance, my friend, she was dealing with the guy. And then I said, why don't you ask him why I can't call you after 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Now, I already knew the answer. So she asked him, and he accepted the answer. She was like, well, he says he gets off work around 6 or 7. He's tired, and he takes a nap to 1 o'clock, and he'll text me back about 1 o'clock. Now, y'all know that's bullshit. And I told her, so I said, do a follow-up question. A follow-up question is is, okay, here's what, that's fine. If you can't call me until you get up, I said, what I'll do is I'll call you when you get up around 1 o'clock. Well, he doesn't want her to call around 1 o'clock. Why? Because he's busy sleeping with somebody else. He's living with somebody else. I already knew this, but my job, y'all, is not to tell you everything. My job is to bring you to the threshold of your own understanding. Because a lot of people, if you tell them the truth, they don't want to hear it. But if I bring you to the threshold of your own understanding, when you recognize the truth, it becomes a part of you. Now you see it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And if you ever have any questions, concerns, comments, topics, anything you want me to do, I want you to send it to me. This has been Ken Canion. I am the host of Love, Lust, and Lies. And I just want to help you navigate relationships in the modern day, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you.